Hey everyone, and welcome back to another tutorial on the City Skylines YouTube channel. I'm Prez, and once again I'm collaborating with Paradox Interactive to bring you an awesome tutorial on how to build a beautiful, realistic, modded university like this. So let's get straight into it. So as I mentioned in the last tutorial, the first thing you're going to do is find a university in the real world to base your own campus off of, and then generally replicate its road layout. So the next step you're going to want to take is you're going to plan your path layout and make sure you leave a lot of room for green spaces if you're building anything that's not an ultra-urban university. So I ended up leaving room for a big green space. You'll see a little bit later on how that turns out. Obviously leave some room for green spaces elsewhere. You don't have to build your complete path layout, just focus on the area around the core of your university, because that's where we're going to start off. Alright, so quickly, the next thing I recommend you do is just place your sports buildings down now on the edge of campus so you know you've got some space for them, because a lot of the time you're building a campus in an area it's already got a lot of buildings around it. So you want to make sure your big sports buildings, they've got some room to breathe. So place those down now on the edge of campus. So the next thing you're going to want to do once you've got the general infrastructure of your university down is to place your core buildings. What I mean by core is the buildings that have been there since the inception of the university. So place your administration building and a bunch of older buildings around that. So at the core of my university here along this big green space, I'm just using the vanilla university buildings from the campus DLC, and I'm using some of the Chirper University buildings from the workshop. By the way, all of the workshop assets I use will be linked in the description in a collection. So now that we've got the core buildings down, it's time to expand the university, and I'm having you do this in chronological order because it'll make things a lot more organic. Universities expand. They'll start with a core and then expand out. What I decided to do is I decided to use some of the trade school buildings from the campus DLC, and how I integrated those is I actually just created a separate campus area with its own administration building. I put those more modern trade school buildings on one end of the university that's further away from that core. I also used some university building assets by King Leno, which you can find on the Steam Workshop, and they're attached to the collection that's in the description. So the next thing you're going to want to do is place some dormitories. I recommend trying to place them near the edge of campus, but if that means placing them sort of near some of the older buildings, go with that theme of dormitory. If you're placing them near newer buildings, go for some newer dormitories. There's some workshop options, but mostly here, I'm just using the ones from the campus DLC. Another thing you could do is you could add some frat houses. King Leno's made some. They are linked in the University City collection in the description. I didn't really have any space to add any, but you definitely should if you want to. Alright, so now that you've placed your dormitories down, you're definitely going to want to get those parking lots down. So what I like to do is put the larger parking lots towards the edge of campus where space is a little bit less valuable, and the smaller parking lots in between buildings on campus. That's usually how it works in most universities. I'd recommend you use the parking lot roads networks from the workshop. They work really well for essentially everything here, and they're very versatile. Those are linked in the description and the collection, of course. So the final step here is going to be to detail your university. This doesn't have to be ultra detailed like the crazy shots you see on Reddit. Just place a bunch of trees and maybe some picnic benches and some bushes under the trees. Another thing you can do is you can place fences with bushes inside of them, sort of in between the roads and buildings. That looks really, really good. But mostly just focus on the vegetation. These buildings should really speak for themselves. The buildings look really, really good from the new campus DLC and the workshop buildings that we placed. And you don't have to add details in all of these little nooks and crannies. Just place a bunch of cool vegetation, meaning, obviously trees and bushes. Don't overcrowd everything. Make sure you leave room for green space. Don't put, every second of your day into this. It doesn't have to be too much effort to make your university look really good. And so long as you focus on the vegetation and you make sure that you're following the organic layout plan that I mentioned before, where you put your core in first and then you work around that, you're going to have an awesome university in no time. So yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed. I'm really had a blast making this tutorial. I love this university that I made here, and hopefully you do too. Make sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more tutorials like this on the City Skylines YouTube channel. But that's about it. See you next time.